And I think we're live. Yes, we are.
What is up, man? So good weekend.
A
It's a
whole
rainy
lot
one
of
here, bruh.
a whole
You
lot of
all
stuff.
over the place,
Last
all
night was pretty exciting at
scatterbrained.
work.
Yeah,
We had a little brush fire going
I
through
saw
the
that.
through the dam,
What's
and
up with that?
I don't know.
I
I
saw
mean,
it on your
it
story, bro. I'm
periodically
gonna pull
burns
it up.
because you get a lot of visitors out in that area, and sometimes they'll have campfires or something, and they don't extinguish them properly, or it's just hard to say. And because there's really nothing out there that would create a spark or a source of fire.
Look at that, y'all. That's crazy,
Yeah, that was probably
dude.
only about, I don't know, an eighth of a mile away from where I was at.
Bro, what is going on? So that's just from some like a campfire. It's not natural, is what you're saying.
No, it's not natural. No, it wasn't a lightning
What?
strike. It wasn't a lightning strike. It wasn't power plants. Uh, See, that's my office right there, and that was
Holy
just
shit.
yeah.
That is insanity.
Yeah, but luckily I was upwind from it, so and it was blowing pretty consistent. And then the way the ground is laid out there, that was
Yeah.
like the I guess you want to say the north bank of that reservoir that has all the cattails and tules and everything that grows on the edge of the reservoir. Well, that's what was burning, was that stuff. So, but
Yeah, for
it
you
wasn't.
guys coming in, this is what
I was
uh
feeling last night.
talk about an eventful 24 hours this man has had. And see, it's kind of fitting for the show we're about to have. Oh man, speaking
Hey,
of which,
Bryce,
man,
Daniel,
thank y'all for everybody that's pulling
Woody,
up right now.
Berto, what's up?
Lonnie, what's good?
Ricky,
Danielle,
Ricky's here with us.
you know what I'm saying? What up? Thunder Aquatics in the house.
That's
Garcia
Daniel.
here. That's what's up. Thank you guys for
And
pulling up,
Lady
man. We got a
Warcraft,
good show today.
being here.
We really talking fish for real. The biz
Yes.
sliding in. Watch what's good with you.
Drew,
So
Jeffrey.
without further ado, man, we're gonna jump into it, bro. Let's not waste time.
All right.
We got a good guest today, and we're gonna have a conversation. I'll let him tell how it happened. Today we got the former president of the Greater Houston Aquarium Club. He is also very integral in one of the more premier aquarium stores in Houston and in the country. Let's bring him up. Roy Williams, glad to have you.
Hey, it's great to be here.
What's up,
Thanks for joining
man?
us.
Oh, let me see.
I can hear you, bro.
Yeah, we can
My
hear you.
mic's not wanting to work.
I can hear you good.
You sound good.
Yeah, you muted yourself though.
There, can you hear us now?
It's about to happen.
You can do all the prep work you want, and at the last minute, hey, Waynes, who else we got in here?
I'm not even tripping,
Daniel,
bruh.
Velez, Whips.
It's about to be epic.
Here, how's
yeah.
that?
It's
No, much
perfect.
better.
All right.
Okay. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here and excited to hear, kind of share what I know in the hobby. And I've been keeping tanks for almost 40 years, give or take. And 10 years as the president to the Greater Houston Aquarium Club. And I've been working at Aquarium Design Group as a technician and like a tank manager for, I think I'm going on 8 years this year. So that's what I do full time. Manage tanks from about 3,000 gallons down to probably about 75.
Damn. So you want to tell the people kind of how we got around this whole topic of anabantoids, or you want to just dive into it?
Okay, so a lot of people's initial first fish is they are bettas. A lot of people approach the tanks. There's a lot of kind of misconceptions in the hobby, and bettas are oftentimes one that gets misperceived. We approach it and we put it in a small tank, but we still treat it like any other tropical fish. But these are very unique fish. They're part of the Anabantoid group. Really, the characteristic that separates Anabantoids from other fish is that labyrinth organ. And once you kind of really start appreciating that labyrinth organ, and really that was something that evolved probably around the early Cretaceous, back whenever the continents were kind of a little bit more connected with Gondwana.
Was it dinosaurs or not?
Yeah, this would be back during the dinosaurs.
Okay, kids, because you gotta. Some people, it was dinosaurs, y'all. I do apologize humbly, though. Cretaceous.
Cretaceous. Early Cretaceous. They basically were able to, the predecessors developed a way to push oxygen over and through their gills. And by pushing it through those gills, it is able to extract oxygen out of the environment. This is especially useful in very oxygen deficient environments. So that's where we see anabantoids really thriving. And
I'm sorry. So that's basically standing water where you don't have a lot of water movement. That's where you have depleted.
Arguably, there could be no other fish living in that water, and anabantoids can live just fine.
Okay.
They can basically go up to the surface, pull in oxygen, push it over their wet gills, and extract oxygen. Similar to lorisards and Corydoras that can actually extract oxygen from gulping air. Right. You'll see them go up to the surface and gulp air. They're actually extracting oxygen in their gut, their small intestines.
And it's called porpoising, right? Mm-hmm. So that's like the agapo would be kind of synonymous with the environment that the anabantoids would thrive in on the other side of the planet.
Exactly. And you've got, a mixture of environments there in Southeast Asia, but a lot of those kind of, swamp, like you've got basically the same recipe that's occurring down in the Amazon and also in like more Western Africa. If you get over into like Sierra Leone, you get that like really soft water area where you've got a large amount of detritus that's actually adding tannins into the water. That's actually basically making it, there's no bacterial cycle that's actually occurring. You basically have really soft water. You have excessive tannins that are producing tannic acid, and it's dropping the pH, and you have almost no mineral content.
Okay, so check this out. Last show we had Dr. Anthony on, right? Okay. And we were talking about the micro food web and the biointegrity, like the diversity, and how from the bottom up, that right there sustains itself. It sustains the whole food web. It came about because George was talking about leaving for an extended amount of time, i.e. vacation or something. And your fish not dying because you have an ecosystem in there with plants, microfauna, etc. So when you're talking about the detritus and stuff, and I think about the anabantoids, like I think about some of like the nanotypes or just in general, how they've evolved. So can you kind of talk about the microfauna that would kind of complement that niche?
Let me
Go
ask
ahead.
something. Let me ask something before we get
Yeah,
into
like we
that.
dig it. This is amazing.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because I understand why it worked in my environment because I
Mhm.
tend to have more of a completed ecosystem.
Right.
Now, is this possible with people that keep fish that are on bare bottoms, no plants? It's just basically water in the fish. Can you still accomplish these things?
Well, so yeah, you can. Arguably, I would say that most fish remember that we get into a feast or famine
Hmm.
out in the wild.
I'd be doing
Like
that.
that
I
is
like
just a
that.
natural kind of extension of living in a freshwater environment. Most fish, short of very small fish, young growing fry, should be able to live at least 7 to 14 days without even a noticeable drop in their body weight.
Hmm.
This is something we see all the time. Um, you'll come back and one of our auto feeders will have broken at a hospital. No one feeds the tank, so it all works off of an auto feeder. And
Hmm.
you realize that they haven't been fed in 14 days, and yeah, they're fine. I
So
think a
let
lot
me
of
ask you
people,
something.
they imagine we tend to anthropomorphize our fish. We think of them
Right.
like us. We're warm blooded, so we require a huge caloric intake. These fish are cold blooded. Their caloric intake is far less than we need.
Right.
Most
Right.
fish could probably go a month. I mean, you go down the big season for piranhas where they're dangerous, they have usually gone 2 months without eating anything. That's why they get dangerous.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason I even asked that is because I know within our community, I hear this question come up quite a bit because they want to go to an event over the weekend, whether it's an aqua shell or something like that, and there's always concern that by them leaving for an extended period of time, that they're going to come back and find their fish have starved to death.
Oh yeah.
And
No,
and
I would
and it's
say that most fish can tolerate it. There are a few exceptions. I won't say that there aren't exceptions. You know, I have a tough time with seahorses. Seahorses
Right.
are a nightmare. They have no
Right.
body fat. They want to eat 3 or 4 times a day. Discus can be a little bit problematic. They don't like to eat a lot. They like to graze.
Would you
throughout
throw
the day.
puffers into that category? Because I could call
No.
puffers that way. You wouldn't?
No, dude.
Would
Puffers.
you?
Dude, we usually fed our Fahaka, who is
Mhm.
almost 20 inches. We would feed her once or twice a week, and that was just large feedings of like 1 to 2 large full-size shrimp. That's it.
So, like, because I get a lot of people asking me all the time about puffers, and I'm like, it's just got to be moving, and then once they get used to being fed, you just got to put it in the water, you know.
A lot of
But
times
is it a
with
parasite load, wild caught fish? You know, what is it?
I mean, so a lot of times with puffers, you imagine that these are pretty much dedicated molluscivores.
Uh huh.
So they've really specialized in a mollusk-heavy diet.
Right.
So they're focused on snails, clams, different mollusks that they're around. Some of them have adapted eventually over to a piscivorous diet, but that's not always the case. It just depends on each one. We have a lot of freshwater puffers, brackish water puffers, and then marine puffers. They all have like a very unique kind of diet, but they're very intelligent. So usually it's engaging with them, showing them what food is, getting them excited, feeding them properly, keeping them with a regular caloric intake, and watching their body shape.
Gotcha.
But it's easy to overfeed puffers. They don't have an off switch. If they have food available, they will
They gonna eat it. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So it's if they not eating, basically, you need to look at other things, other parameters.
Yeah.
And the fish
you
itself.
know, certain puffers, it's finding the exact right. Like we were having a tough time initially with the shooting denties, the spotted Africans, and we found that earthworms are the trick.
Really,
A lot of
like
the
red
food,
wigglers or something.
Oh yeah, dude, you chop up earthworms and you can pack them full, and they get
I ain't gonna lie, I
beefy
do
and
like
big.
feeding them because, like, even when you cut up the sections, they still move. You know,
Oh yeah.
I like feeding them, but look, y'all, this is how fish talk goes between me and Roy. We go
You're getting
down
sidetracked.
literal no, we go down epic rabbit holes of fishness. Look, so fish plants and mice. We're gonna promote substance from now on, and we just gonna normalize it and make it cool.
Oh
So
yeah.
we're gonna ride right on into Anabantoids because we can do that. So you were on the Cretaceous period, and you were elaborating
Oh,
on the
so
labyrinth organ in Gondwana. So talk
so
about
yes.
Asia and Africa and the two
So
populations.
we actually have we know that they spread out from that point.
Right.
We start seeing our first really big break occurs with basically what would have been almost primitive gourami-like fish and separating into a carnivorous fish, a primarily carnivorous fish that starts to become serpentine.
Hmm.
Um, it is that me with
With the music.
noise in the background, or
Oh,
okay,
I think that's for the show.
okay.
Yeah,
I
I'll
just
turn it
wanted to
off.
double check.
I'll turn it
Um,
off if it's distracting.
oh no, I was like, am I am I the one, dude?
I
Do
can
I
hear
got
it
something
now.
going off on my
I
phone?
had tuned it out because I was like locked in because you were talking about
Okay, so
the serpentine qualities of the
yeah, so
primitive.
you've got basically a serpentine quality, like
Right,
a fish that starts branching off and starts becoming very piscivorous.
right.
Um, they're highly adapted to very stagnant water, and they kind of go on their own route, and that is what eventually becomes the snakeheads.
Okay. I was getting into the channels. I was thinking of chinoides when you said serpentine. That's why I laughed. Like, so we'll save it. We'll save it. They do belong in this conversation.
They do,
But
but
go ahead. Damn it.
but arguably that eventually kind of branches off, and we can see that like anabantoids, we
Right?
have African and we've got Asiatic,
Mm-hmm.
and snakeheads we have African and we have Asiatic. So
Right.
they're found in both same areas. They are part of the anabantoid group. There's a good reason that they can process oxygen and why we could not poison them whenever
Right.
they were found up in Maryland, because they can
Right.
breathe
Right. Right.
atmospheric air.
Now, speaking of which, because you're saying like Asia, people need to realize like these things are found in like Siberia. They
Yeah.
have Eurasian species of these things. So when we talking about that northern species is the one that was in Maryland. It's in the Chesapeake Bay, bad, and they can go brackish too. And they're
Oh
out
yeah.
there, yeah. Because I was up there. That was cool. Like understanding that it's not limited to what you see in the pet store
No.
and
And
the
honestly, we're
hobby,
seeing really cool new things come into just even our awareness. I mean, so we had Chana, which would
right?
be the Asiatic, any of the snakeheads found in Asia. And then
They
you had
taste good
Parachana,
too,
which
y'all.
is all of the African species, the 4 African species, or 3. It's
All
been 3 or
illegal in
4.
Texas,
They've been arguing. And
right?
then we had in 2019, so 3 years ago, we finally found another genus of Channa,
Where?
and that's Enigma Channa.
Uh-oh.
So that's Enigma Channa, and that is actually what they call golem snakeheads, and they're
Okay,
actually an
I've seen those.
entire. And there's 2 species that have been found, and they're entirely troglodytic, so they
Huh.
are only found in like caves.
So what are those? An African? Those are coming out of
They're
Africa.
Asian, so
They're
they're found in
Asian.
India.
India. Huh. You know what? You know how in Vietnam and really in China, how they have those like sunken those rainforests inside the caves,
Oh
and
yeah,
now it's like whole ecosystems in there. Do you think Anabantoids are in there?
it wouldn't surprise me. We have not found. This is the first troglodytic anabantoid that we've actually found, but
That's
that
what made me
doesn't.
ask you that.
It was kind of neat, and honestly, it was only found what 3 years ago.
Huh. See, and it's like I was looking because I was grazing the taxonomy real quick, right?
Right?
And I like macropodus. I'm
Okay.
stuck on it, but there is uh there's one, and it's like an offshoot of macropodus, and the other one. Hold on, I gotta look. Let me look my notes.
Malpaluda.
It ain't that one. Hold on, I'm gonna tell you. I got it up. I'll tell you right here. It's worth it. You know what? You're such a nerd, bro. It is Malpaluda. It's Malpaluda and Pseudo Frementis.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, those
So those are
two.
the spike tails and
Yeah,
the ornate
dope.
paradise fish.
They look like crokins. They look like
Yeah.
croakers,
Yeah.
relics,
And
And one of them's
I,
endangered, critically.
Malpaluda is, if I'm correct, those are
Let me see.
they're out of Sri Lanka.
Yeah, it is. This is it's the ornate paradise.
Yeah.
It's a
And
dope looking fish.
they used to be fairly common in the hobby. I mean, hey, I'm old school.
Hey, hey, there you go.
If,
Corey, what's
whenever you
up?
bust out,
Yeah, that thing's been used well, you know.
oh
But
yeah,
that one, like, why is this fish is nice,
oh
but
yeah.
why
A
is there
lot of
not
times
more
with
of
like
it?
the comb tails and some of the spike tails, they used to be common in the hobby. They just don't bang in a lot of color.
That's what it
So,
is.
and they can be a little aggressive. They get a little bit beefier than bettas.
Hmm.
So I think that the hobby kind of shifted over to bettas and over to more of the dwarf gouramis and
Right,
some of the more traditional blue and gold gouramis, the opaline gouramis. That
right.
it
And then your
we are
trigogasters.
now returning back to that wild type and really appreciating some of them. But
I
I
want
think
them
that
for a
licorice
nano.
gouramis and um,
Spherictes.
yes, spherictes, your chocolate gouramis. I think
Yes.
that a lot of people have a hard time with those. I mean, honestly, I kept some Stenops nobilis.
Well, can we talk about that for people to kind of give them a mind frame
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
the vastness of
So
the hobby, like creating an environment where less is more. You know what I'm saying? To
generally,
really make
like
it hit.
whenever I approach like a biotope like that, so whenever I approach my Stenops, I had a tough time. Like, so they're referred to as the frail gouramis, and the frail gouramis can be. I mean, they call them frail gouramis for a reason. They die real quick, real fast. No, all right. So I basically wanted about a 10-gallon. I went with entirely RO water,
Okay.
DI, did zero TDS. I used a base layer of aqua soil
Okay.
to basically bang
pH
down my
reducer.
pH.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
did a light layer of sand on top and basically just using like leaf litter and driftwood to kind of like accent the tank. And I
Right. Right.
did some simple hygrophilia, like hygros, some Indian hygros as
Okay.
plant litter coming up fully emergent. And honestly, they did great. But my pH was probably between a 3 and a 4.
What?
Yeah.
Your pH was between a 3 and a 4.
3 and 4.
How many were you running?
What do you mean? Oh, for filtration?
No. How many fish in that 10?
In a 10-gallon, I had 4. I had 2 pairs,
Right.
and
Did they beat
eventually
the crap
one
out
of
of
my
each
males
other?
killed off the other male, and I
Yeah,
had basically 1 male, 2 females. They bred a couple times.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, did they beat the crap out of each other in there?
The male started getting real aggressive with the secondary male, and then eventually a dominant male won out. But
Now let me
I
ask you
kind of had
something.
that suspicion, but I wanted to kind of try it out and see if that was going to end up being the case.
So let me ask you something. Do you think this would be one of those situations where you could play the numbers game to reduce aggression or use a nano fish for a dither?
Okay, so I ended up using some drape fin barbs
Okay.
as kind of a dither, and I used some mini moth cats,
Okay.
Jordonis, for basically.
Jordonis, man. Yeah.
I like Haras. Dude,
Me
Haras are
too,
just
bro.
great cats.
RJDs, bro. One of my faves. The anchor cats, bro. Yep.
Um,
That was a good one.
yeah, and honestly, that was it. That was all I had in the tank. And sometimes the drape fins would draw a little bit of attention. I usually tried to use basically like driftwood and plant roots as line of
Right.
sight breaks.
Right. See, so talk about that. So when we're talking about these oxygen reduced environments, but a lot of times what happens is because people don't have that raggedy ass book you got on that table now, they don't have that knowledge, you understand, to understand
Sadly, they
that
don't.
it's the sticks, it's the leaves, it's the twigs, it's the line of sight. Like nature is integral. It's a
Yes.
computer. It's built, it's locked in. You can't make it do what it's not programmed to do. So you learn, you read them books, and you hobby the way, you tank the way, because at the end of the day, I want that fish when I see it in the book. It's like Pokemon, baby. There's nothing I will not have. So if I got to figure out how to be Avatar and bend the elements, hey, you remember when we was little and Captain Planet was on? I like the black dude because he was the Earth guy. Plus, he was the only black kid on the damn show. But I be thinking about that, like the elements and stuff. So, like, that's why I'm fascinated with different biomes, different fish. Like,
Oh yeah.
I
And
think
I
about
mean,
it as a
honestly,
closet.
even knowing
Yeah.
what products are available, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I think a lot of people just aren't aware of different products that are available to the hobby. Um, we oftentimes get stuck in what we can get and not what we can order. I mean, most people aren't aware that Aqua Design Amano actually makes a substrate that
Yeah,
replicates Malaysia and Southeast Asia that you can
they
get.
do. And
ADA
then
Malay, yeah, Malaya,
this,
and then you've got ADA Africa, and that
how, how you feel
replicates
about
West Africa.
Brightwell? I use Brightwell, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm using. I use
yeah, and
Brightwell, and then I
honestly,
use a thing called
Amazonia
Black
is
Diamond.
one that everybody's used to, but they just don't realize that there's other options.
There's other, yeah, they are. And you don't need a lot.
No,
That's
no,
why it
dude,
comes in
just
those
enough
little
to
bags. You don't need a
kind of
lot.
cover the bottom of the tank, but
And
that
then you
really
can fill it with
builds
something
up
else.
from the ground up. You know, you get a good substrate, you start trying to find what trees and different plants are available. I mean,
Right.
you might not be able to get the right exact wood, but dude, I bet you can get bamboo. And dude,
And
bamboo
see,
ends up in the water over in Southeast Asia. And did you imagine
Biotope,
some old
Ecotope,
bamboo pieces and break them
that'd be
up?
dope. That'd be dope. See, so check this out. Cause you're talking about cut from the bottom up, right? So um we were talking about H2S gas last week or the last show we had. We were talking about
Okay.
anaerobic and stuff like that, right? So when you're in that oxygen deficient and you got the pH is bringing down, it's and suspending the bacterial breakdown, so on and so forth. So like dig in kind of talking about that process that's going on in the substrate using the
Okay,
Malay, using the, you know what I'm
so
saying?
if you're developing like if you're going into like a really oxygen deficient uh environment, basically you're getting into anaerobic, processing, because you're also, all right, first let's talk about the fact that, dude, below a 6, your bacteria no longer function. So you've got all right, so we're going to talk about,
You got to
the
go
first
ahead
thing
and
we're
do
going to
it.
talk about is we're going to talk about ammonia. Say you get
Right.
an ammonia test kit, and you're going to test ammonia.
Right.
That is actually what you're testing for, is your TAN, or your total ammonia number. So that's what your little ammonia test is going to give you.
Right.
But that's not actually toxic ammonia. Toxic ammonia, and then you have ammonium, which is safe ammonia.
Right.
And that you have to determine by pH and your temperature.
Can
If
you
your
do this for
pH
me,
is
Roy?
below 6, it is all ammonium. So your
Rope this in
number
there
will
too.
be off the chart.
Rope this in there too. Rope in how, because of the fact that the pH is below 6, and because of the fact that the buffering capacity of carbolic acid is reduced, can you talk about how the ionization process in tannic water? Like, I've been every show I'm trying to get somebody to explain this. I know you can do it. Like, rope that into what you was just telling the people, please. Because I always get like brain fart. I get like retarded. I can't get it out.
Okay. So like, as you start producing, like, if so you've got like ammonia and ammonium. Ammonium is safe ammonia. This is actually how C-Chem Prime works. It
Right.
binds your total ammonia into ammonium, but it only works for 24 to 48 hours. That's why it will break out. That's why I oftentimes will recommend using Prime. Prime's a great
Right.
product. I think somebody else does it, but suffice to say, as if you like, say, a high pH tank, say what you guys run on your normal tap.
Well, shit, I'm here, bro. You know we got liquid rock,
Well,
bro.
what about you, George?
You
Yeah,
know,
I'm running. I'm
I'm
running.
not gonna lie, I use rain. So I don't know. I don't
What's
know.
your pH running, George?
Oh, me? I'm at about a 7.8,
Okay,
7.8, 7.6. Yeah.
7876. So let's say you don't change water for a year.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So eventually
I've done that.
now you've got a bacterial cycle, right?
Yes.
So that bacterial cycle, what it initially does, it goes into ammonia, then it goes into nitrites, then it goes into nitrates. Your nitrates will slowly start building up, right? And when we hit about 300 to 400, sometimes up to 700 or 800,
ppm.
it will actually start basically making nitric acid, and it will actually start acidifying your water, and it starts binding up all your minerals. So it actually slowly starts plummeting your pH. Once you get below 6, dude, everything gets bound up and everything's safe, because theoretically they can breathe that ammonia because it's ammonium. That's why oftentimes with old tank syndrome,
It's fucking bad.
all the fish will be fine, but if you add new fish, they can't tolerate because they haven't grown used to it.
Exactly.
And they basically die right off the bat. And if you do a huge water change, your whole tank will
Crashing.
basically shit the bed.
Yeah, man.
Everything dies.
So
Because you have to do like 10% every hour for days to get it out of that. And you have to be hammering it with bacteria, because you still have ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate present. And if they get to a pH high enough, they all become toxic.
this will be on YouTube forever.
So
That's awesome, bro.
I
Nailed
get
it.
all I can get I can get all crazy into it, but really, your plants will actually uptake ammonium, just like nitrate. But nitrite, I've never seen any like usage other than basically it breaking over into nitrate.
So if you know these variables and how to manipulate them and stuff, and you do it, is that neglect?
Is it what?
If you know these parameters and you try to exacerbate them, manipulate them, replicate them, whatever, is that neglect? Like, is not doing a water change for a year neglect, or is that like,
All right,
do you,
so
what is that? Because I've
I
done
I
it. I'm
I
not going to even lie.
I will challenge
Just
you
to see
this:
what would happen.
If there is a ditch in the woods, in the middle of the woods, and it doesn't rain, and these fish survive in that fetid little ditch, is
Yes.
that neglect?
I wouldn't say so. I would say that is the impartiality of nature and the divine
That
creator.
is, I mean, I would say that it is our job to do our best that we
Animal
can
husbandry, yes,
as animal
absolutely.
husbandry, but these fish have grown and adapted to an environment, and understanding those environments is really critically important, you
Right.
know. And
So,
sometimes it's those extremes that produce spawning behaviors and, feast famine. These
right,
are all from areas where you get, big rainy seasons, food, like a large amount of food comes in, then,
right,
they're going through 2 months of famine.
right. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Like, I try to replicate stuff like that all the
Oh yeah.
time, man. And I think it's fascinating. And look, I'm gonna put it to you like this, G. I be trying to prove the stuff in the books right and or true. Cause I ain't read all them damn books for nothing, bro. So
Hey,
I'm like, huh. So they
hey,
say if
I'll
you
tell you what,
a badass little kid, bro.
as a
I'm
kid,
like,
I couldn't afford real fancy books.
exactly.
My mom took me to the library, and I had to
Library.
get a bunch of old black and white books, and they were
Thank
all in
you.
Latin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I know what I know, is because I read a bunch of Latin.
I know we was talking about that the other day, man. Like I read the Remember the World book encyclopedias.
Oh yeah,
You know, he's trying
yeah,
to
I
date
remember.
myself. Yeah. I read the whole volume and the appendices. God, I don't know how many times because it's dope, you know.
Oh yeah.
But we finna go like on a tangent. um, so the ionization process, the low pH, the stagnant environment, right? So
Yes.
everybody's always fascinated, right? Because some people can't wrap their head around the concept that I'm filterless, man, because I really am trying to go green. So, with the exception of lights, I don't really, I try to basically I try to minimize the auxiliary equipment on my aquariums. And if I can do that, and not lose fish, then I'm balanced. I
Oh, agreed.
understand that I'm gonna lose fish. I understand that this,
Oftentimes, I have
you
found that
know,
if I'm keeping like a biotope tank like that, I'll try to
right.
pick up the lights
Yeah.
really high and bang in highlight from a
Really?
higher distance, and it
Okay.
actually tends to cause me less problems with algae. To put a timer on it. That it's the cheapest part of your equipment. You can get a
Right.
smart timer and you can change it. You get an algae, dial it back by half an hour. Wait a
Okay.
week and see how it goes. Then make alterations. You can
Okay.
dial it in to its exact point where you're getting exactly the plant growth you want without having to deal with the algae.
Right. 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 Like the speaking of algae, let's talk about algae in those stagnant systems. Um, Snodgrass is there. That's
You're going
algae.
to see a lot of different algae.
Yeah.
You're not going to see that green spot algae that's really hard and
Right.
requires a razor blade to pull off, because that the reason that you get that razor blade out is because of the calcium. It
Right.
binds up with the calcium. So, dude, once you get into soft water, dude, you're talking about anything like you do it with a paper towel in your finger and it takes away everything.
Hey, let's talk about that reddish brown rusty type of algae that grows in the black water, man. Blackbeard
So,
too. But see,
yep,
I don't really have a problem with Blackbeard unless I got flow.
yep. Now, Blackbeard oftentimes will actually, so we get into like, hey, you ever really do a lot of work with, yeah, yeah, with Diane Walstead?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
Ecology
I
of the
think that the
Planet
best
Aquarium.
investment is,
It's a great book.
yeah, great book, dude. Everyone should get it. But she actually did a breakdown on oxygen and CO2 levels, and in a planted tank, especially a low tech planted tank, uh, you basically have uh, your carbon dioxide builds up at night,
Right.
and then you collapse within the first 2 hours of the lights coming on, and you start getting down to a point where it can no longer support plant life. It's no longer growing, and you just ride at this really low number. So that's why her argument was for a fiesta period, where you
Mhm.
actually give it an hour of sleep after 4 hours, then have it come back on after another two, because it actually
Huh.
allows the carbon dioxide to replenish, and then it can crater down again.
What would that even be emulating from nature, though? You feel me?
Probably a lot of shade from
Oh,
trees.
diffuse light.
Yeah, diffuse light, where
Huh.
that light's not
Yeah, because the
not
sun moving, the shadow gonna
yeah,
be. Ooh,
yeah, you're
damn.
not going to get
Ooh.
that like
Okay.
hard.
I think abstractly. That's so dope.
Yeah, if you do some searching
I'll
for
be
Diane
damn.
Walstead siesta, it's well worth it.
Print it right now. Well, I got the book anyway. That's what I was doing, pulling it up. But my Kindle is
Yeah, I
on.
run my lights on timer intervals. I don't run them
Yeah, I got
12 hours
timers.
straight.
Yeah,
So,
See,
I
dude,
you
got
know,
George
timers,
knows what's
and I
up.
got some that are lamps. They don't
He's
ever
not
go off.
playing.
yeah, I
Yeah.
run them. I run them 4 hours in the morning, and it's really the only reason I run them. Well, no, I do need to run them for growth, but a lot of it is just for me to be able to enjoy the tanks.
Oh
It's
yeah,
just auxiliary.
In the
That's me. They
summertime,
lamps at this stage in the game.
yeah, in the summertime I have a lot more light in the garage because I have the side door open and then I have the garage door cracked, so that
Right.
ambient light is sufficient to light up the whole garage.
Well, you
But
getting sunlight too.
in the winter, I bun everything up because I don't want a draft coming in here.
Right.
So it gets dark. It gets pitch dark in here in the wintertime. That's why I have to have the lights on.
See, so kind of segueing back into Anabantids.
Yeah.
The image, right, of let's say a rainforest, and you're saying Diane Walstead, she's emulating the shade periods, diffuse light environments. So let's talk about how you got different groups of anabantoids as far as like riverine species. You
yeah.
got ditch backwater, you
All right,
got rice
so
paddy, etc.
so
You know?
our first real like how I would classify anabantoids, and we start looking at them. Our first break is our real primitive grandparents that got left where they kind of started, and that's
Okay.
Africa. And we can see, because we know that those are related, and
Mm-hmm.
fairly directly related, even into our breeding.
Hmm.
Most of the stenopomas,
The
which are
stenopoma.
basically bush fish, but those are gouramis out of
Yeah.
Africa.
Okay.
And they actually are pretty much open spawners, except for the microcenopomas.
Okay.
The microcenopomas are actually, they're really small, but one thing that they do that's really unique, they're bubble nesters.
And like let's dive into stenopomas because it's a hot ticket item right now. I know one of our mods has some,
I love
and
Cinepomas.
me too is one of my favorites. You know, so if you want to kind of go in on climbing purrs, stenopomas, any of
I
the
mean,
bush fish or
basically,
leaf
these are
fish.
ambush lurker predators. A lot of them are fairly moderate sized. Some of them can get very large. You get into like some Kingsley, and you're talking about almost a foot. These are big fish that will pretty much eat anything that can fit in their mouth. The acastros are like the more common one that everybody usually sees, but the there's a lot of options. I mean, microcenopomas are probably on everybody's radar for a better fish, especially for like the ornate cenopomas or
Hmm.
um, there's a there's an ornate which is like the orange, and then there's also a fasciolatum that's
I
a
mean,
real
there's
pretty
just
that
a beautiful fish.
occasionally comes in almost a whitish blue variant color. Um, Really, I've seen them in everything from Tanganyikan tanks to West African biotopes. There's also hold up one sec. The Sandelias.
Stenopoma sindalia.
No, Sandelia, it's its own genus, and they're out of just South Africa.
What?
It's a unique kind of like
You're gonna pull
oddball
that
genus,
up.
but they're connected to that Synapoma group. Sandelia, Sandelia.
How prevalent are
So
these in the hobby?
yeah, dude, you rarely ever see them. I mean, sometimes you'll come across them listed as like Cape Kerper. I don't know. There's a
It's
couple of.
dope
There's only
looking
two
fish.
species. They're not very common. Um, then we get into really like uh, Halostomatidae, which is your kissing fish, and they're really an oddball gourami because they don't act like a lot of the other gouramis. And I mean, honestly, I don't think that there's another fish that is as banging and amazing looking at full size than like a small school of green kissing gouramis. Like not the pink, not the leucistic, but the original green
Yeah.
just look amazing. And it's so rare that I see good ones in the hobby.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever seen are the regular pink ones.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to see the original green, dude, they look absolutely gorgeous. And they're actually filter feeders.
Oh,
They'll
okay.
actually filter feed out of the water column, which is a unique kind of characteristic of the of various gouramis. Another thing I see a lot of people nowadays, you get Hydra in a tank, and what do you got to do?
Well,
You go out and get a dog dewormer, stick it in the tank, hope for the best. Panicure. But do gouramis eat Hydra?
Yeah, I don't think I have any issue with Hydra in my tank, and I don't understand why, because it seems to be a prevalent problem in a lot of the tanks. But maybe because I keep guppies and stuff like that that'll predate on them. So
Exactly.
if they're happening, they're able to keep up with whatever's Hydra's growing in the tank. So
Oh yeah.
The only thing that did surprise me the other day, I was pulling some jungle val out of a tank. I didn't realize I had redworms in there. I mean, like full redworm. I was like,
yeah.
It was just, and on that one, it was even more surprising because all I have for substrate is gravel and sand. So it wasn't like I used potting soil that could have potentially had eggs.
So are you getting like cryamid larvae, or are you getting like blackworms?
Well, they look like blackworms, but they're red.
Okay. But usually, like the red coloration is usually just high oxygen.
Okay.
So, like,
Yeah.
they're
And
pulling that high oxygen. Now, cryamid larvae, they look basically like bloodworms.
No, these are bigger. They look like a little earthworm.
Okay.
Um,
Then,
and
so they're
where I find them is at the root ball of the jungle belt. When I pull it out, they're always attached and intertwined there, and that's usually the only place I find them.
Now, do you feed live blackworms?
No, I don't feed any worms.
Okay.
So I was just I couldn't understand how I have them.
Maybe they
I
came
was
in with the
thinking
plants.
about that. Are there annelid worms that could live completely, replicate their life cycle fully aquatic?
Yeah, blackworms.
Blackworms are the only
live
ones I can
entirely
think
in.
of. What else?
I mean, there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, across the planet, depending
Is it
on
tubifax
whatever
and
your
annelid?
local environment is.
Huh. That's bro. You gotta take a picture of that, Jorge, because I've been stumped with that too. You can't be leaving.
Yeah, honestly, I tell people if you've got a planted tank, especially that's got a natural substrate layer that you've got a lot of detritus that's building up down there.
Yeah.
Add in some live blackworms and let them live. They will actually reproduce and feed in there.
Check this out. When I did the Pantanal tank back in I don't know, years ago, man, like 17 or something. But I had got some stuff from Scott because he was doing that Blackwater stuff for the tannins and stuff, the pods. When you first got the pods, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And I shit you not, remember, dude, they were sprouting and growing in the freaking dude.
Here, I'll pull it out. It's in the roots, and they're pretty long too, and they're pretty sturdy.
Yeah, it's some sort of aquatic annelid.
That's for real, dude.
Yeah.
That's the worm right there.
Yep.
It looked like a regular.
Oh yeah. Yes. Huh. It's definitely an aquatic annelid of some kind.
That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, imagine that there's thousands of different kinds. You could probably dig in a swamp in Houston and find different ones from a swamp in Florida and a swamp in Maine.
That is true.
That
is true. You got a point. That's crazy though.
Sadly, there's just not a whole lot of research that's done on.
That's what I was just about to say. How do you go between it being a pest and it being beneficial? I say education.
Yeah, and you get into like bryozoans, like moss creatures, and
I like bryozoans.
A lot of these like freshwater sponges and stuff. The amount of research is just extremely limited. There's not a whole lot of push to learn.
We need to keep.
Yeah,
I would like to have that stuff. Like nanos, people don't realize nanos have opened up a whole niche to the hobby of exploration of things that we can do in the hobby, and we're really not tapping into it the way that we can. And our last guest, Dr. Mazzoli, Dr. Anthony was on here. He was talking about that. The food web again,
Yeah, we tend to feed our fish very limited options, and if they can't figure out what that food is, they die. Right. I mean, that's half the problem that we have with African arowanas when they come in, is they've got a very unique diet, and they're real persnickety.
Pantodon bacosi.
But there's just it's tricky, trying to replicate that diet. You get into, you guys ever come across like the crocodile toothpicks?
I've seen them. I've never kept them.
So they're actually more closely related to sticklebacks.
They look like a damn stickleback. They look like a gar, like a needle nose.
And really remember that sticklebacks eventually move into pipefish, which move into seahorses.
Right.
So, dude, it's that group. So it's odd that we find them way over in Southeast Asia, where they're not really a whole lot of sticklebacks. So we realized that this family, that whole signathid family, is much wider and more diverse than we
Right,
first
right.
originally thought.
So, oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Like, so wild type betas. Everybody been
sorry.
waiting.
I
Let's do
I'm
it.
sorry. I get so
Let's do it. Wild type betas.
wild. All right. So then we get
We'll go back to
into
seahorses in a minute.
okay. So
Then
we get into our like Ostraminidae, and then we get into like the comb tails, the Balanchas. Then you can have like the actual true gouramis. These are the giants, the
yes,
big food fish. There's 4 of those species, and really,
yes.
we found 2 of them in 2014.
Was it
These are
DNA?
giant gouramis, and it wasn't until 2014 we found 2 of them. You've got the pikeheads, which there's only 2 species of pikeheads, the luciocephalids, which are carnivorous, more piscivorous, but they're really long and thin. They're illegal here in Texas.
Yeah, I was
but
about to say all illegal in Texas. You read my mind, bro. You said it before I did. Damn.
we
Illegal.
got a lot of illegal stuff. But I bet over now, where you at, George?
He in
I'm in Yuma, Arizona. I'm
Okay.
right on the
Yeah, so I
border
bet they're
of,
legal there.
probably legal, man. You could probably have any. You could get an ornate if you wanted.
Oh yeah. Peppermint pikehead, man. I love peppermint pikeheads.
Man. So like let's talk about that too. How where you live kind of contributes to, because here's the thing, like the biologists for TP and W, how many of them are really like hardcore fish hobbyists like us 3?
Oh, I doubt any of them. Honestly, I have no idea how pikeheads ended up on our list other than they look like a pike or something that can eat fish.
Like
and
a
they didn't look
snakehead.
at the size nor the water parameters. They couldn't live in our native water. They're extremely acidic.
Yeah.
We have the hardest water. I could release Malawi fish in the ditch out in front of my house and they would breed.
Don't say
Wild
that.
from Malawi, dude.
Don't
we
say
have
that on
liquid
TV.
rock.
I already know.
Dude,
don't release fish outside, y'all.
When you're doing the TDS
Well, the winter
meter,
would kill them anyway. So
you see the TDS meter on my tap hit 900 parts per million. It's crazy.
Like Houston, bro, we got liquid rock. That is how I learned how to use rain. My granny used to catch rain for her plants. Put that shit in a fish tank. I know I can tank anywhere in the world. You just got to figure out what kind of water you got, and hopefully it rains where you are. You know, I mean, if you live in the desert, George, I don't know what to tell you.
Nope,
y'all got liquid
rain.
rock too.
Oh yeah. Well, we get all our water. Think about it. It's we're at the tail end of the Colorado River.
Yeah.
So all that water that's been running through that river, by the time it gets here, it's got all those minerals that it's
minerals, right?
So now, George.
Yes.
Now, I see you've got a lot of tanks. Do you do any work with like native Mexican fish?
No, I haven't. I don't have any.
I'm going to give you
shame on you.
A shame.
They have the healers. They have the healers over there where he's at. They have the top minnow. They have a whole bunch.
So here in Houston, we actually have a large group of us that all kind of devote one tank to endangered or extinct fish from Mexico. And we actually kind of trade them off. A lot of goodeids like tequila goodeids, the zoogeneticus. But there's a large amount of cichlids. They're almost all under threat from introduced species. Like if there is a country of fish that we could really help out as a hobby right now, it is Mexico.
Oh, okay.
They will be gone in 5 years.
Yeah, I can believe that.
You could pretty much blanket all of Central America and the Caribbean.
I mean,
There's a lot of
honestly,
endemics
like,
we losing.
taking the time to devote a single tank to just live bearers would be a joy, and to hand those rare fish off to a young hobbyist that can succeed with an endangered or extinct fish in the wild
Well,
is
I would love that because I don't have
I'm down.
access. I don't have access to. The only thing that I have access to fish here locally is a PetSmart.
okay.
So,
Well, dude, you know what? I'm gonna shoot Steve a link, and he'll get it over to you.
Yeah, I
And
got you. And you give me the fish, I'll ship them to it. I said it right here.
well,
I'll get you the
I have
fish.
some fish that I could trade for them too. I do
Yeah.
have a not so common killifish, I guess. That it's an
He
Amphibious
already knows.
mental engine. So
oh yeah,
I don't know. I didn't know
Well,
too much about them. I just kind of stumbled upon
no,
them by accident.
I think it's something that's close to my heart because, dude, a lot of people don't pay attention to Mexican fish, and there's a
Wait
lot of
minute.
really pretty Mexican fish. You look at
You
a
got black
lot of the
chins,
different.
don't you?
Yeah, I
What's
have
that?
black chins.
He has
I have-
black chins.
Oh
I have
yeah,
black chins.
yeah,
I
dude.
have
A lot of the
those.
live bears, the Goodeids, the live bears,
Flatties are
the
from Mexico.
Scipias.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep mostly live bears. If you look at my tanks, it's predominantly what I keep is in here.
Oh,
You got
right
good
on.
water for
I
it.
just like big tanks because I like keeping big fish, but I like seeing a lot of fish.
A lot. Me too. I like a lot.
I can dig it.
And seeing them interact, and this is probably one of the ones that I have the largest fish is my Arcaras in there, but that's it. Other than goldfish, that's about as big of a fish I go. That's
Well,
it.
honestly, I was gonna set up in front of my tank, but dude, it is completely boring. There's a whole bunch of really weird tetras and a whole bunch of really ugly, mean doradids
The
and
people are like
banjo
that, man.
catfish and driftwood cats.
Dude,
And it-
Bunocephalus is my favorite. That's my favorite catfish,
Hey,
bro.
I've got some
Well,
cool
top three.
eel-tailed banjos, but yeah, dude, unless you put in food, they don't even come
Yeah,
out.
eel-tail. We're going to talk offline, Roy. We're going to do some swapping. Yeah.
Hey, dude, I can
But-
tell you,
You talk about
I
the
just-
danger stuff real quick before you lose that passion and kids and stuff.
yeah, and
Oh.
honestly, once those fish are gone, you look at our San Marcos Scambusia, it
Sure.
did 1981, dude. They mixed up a tank, and dude, that was it. That was the end of the
That was it.
species.
That was the end of it. They got caught with the Aphenis.
Mm-hmm.
They're not pure no more. Yeah, they're
So
gone.
we get into let's get back into
Well,
to-
no, talk about the endangered Anabantoids over there that are.
I am. We've got Spirichthys, which is
Yeah.
all of our chocolates. We got 4 of those. We got Cenops, which is our frail gourami out of India. We got Paraspirichthys, which is our eye spot gourami. There's 2 of the Paraspirichthys. They're just not very common, and they're not really pretty. Every once in a while, I see an eye spot gourami. They're just not common.
Well, see, those kind of fish are perfect for me because I don't give a damn about the fish anyway.
Oh
I
yeah,
do planted tanks. So those are perfect. It's perfect. You can give a fish that's ugly a home. And it's an auxiliary component. And the ecosystem that you provided for is perfect. It's conducive. You might get puppies. You'll get fried eventually.
you got your trichogasters next.
Yeah, that's
Or
what I like
and did
Leary's.
trichogasters really? Did you want to know about our most common gouramis in the hobbies? These are the dwarf
Pearl.
gouramis, the honey gouramis, and the giant or the banded gourami. All 3 of those, 3 of the
Right.
4 we
Right.
see in the hobby. Now we have noticed that there's an iridovirus, a dwarf gourami iridovirus.
Yeah.
Over in Europe, they can vaccinate against it. They have actually developed iridovirus-free lines. They're more expensive. Usually you have to get them from Europe, but you can get them.
So is this virus prevalent in the commercially farmed fish coming Far East? Where are they coming from? Is it in the wild population?
Basically, you're buying dwarf gouramis probably out of the Czech Republic or
Okay,
Germany.
a lot of Czech fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But otherwise, dude, if you're getting them out of Asia, dude, you're getting ones that end up with iridovirus. And usually what happens is once they get into high pH water, it actually starts triggering that iridovirus to start replicating quickly, and they basically fall to almost what appears to be a wasting disease.
Right. So could you mitigate it by keeping them in a reduced pH
It would
water,
definitely limit
neutral
the
down?
iridovirus from replicating real quickly, and it might actually reverse. They seem to be able to handle it. It's just once they get outside of their parameters, it seems to just be a wildfire that their immune system can't control.
See, mind blown. There's a lot of viruses prevalent. Is commercial fish farming the reason, or are these? And what is the danger of
Well, I
these
mean,
viruses getting
arguably,
into the wild populations? You
what
see what I'm
happens
saying?
is we farm out in the wild, and we basically have a huge colony that once one is introduced into it, it can spread to the entire pond
Huh.
immediately. And then
Okay.
once all the fish in the pond have it, then they're shipped out. This is a problem. I mean, you look at, no fault to Petco, but did they get a lot of their guppies out of Southeast Asia?
Hmm.
Well, when you're breeding guppies in Southeast Asia, you're not using freshwater. No, you
No.
breed them in salt.
Yeah.
You know how many times you get ick in salt water? Never.
Never.
Never. You
As soon as
breed them
they
in
put them
full
in those
marine.
Petco tanks, they get loaded with
Yeah.
it.
I've put together an entire coral reef and used guppies, male
I
guppies.
did
And they
too.
said, dude, what kind of magic fish you got in there? And I'm
Yeah.
like, dude,
The
they can
guppies.
tolerate
They
salt.
can tolerate. So I put the swordtails in there, and everybody thought I was nuts. I was like, "What are you
Oh,
talking
yeah.
about?"
Yeah,
Like
they
people
go,
need to understand what Eurohaline means.
yeah,
Like they can live in
Eurohaline
that
means
stuff.
that basically these are fish that can handle going from fully fresh to fully marine. And brackish water fish
Like that.
oftentimes can shift there. I mean, you get a flood and you go from full marine to full fresh in less than 2 hours,
Yeah.
and they can handle it.
They're
That's
fine.
why a lot of the initial fish in the hobby were brackish water, is because they can handle, they're almost bulletproof,
They
you
very
know.
much are.
But
Speaking
the
of which,
guppies,
how
a
many of
lot of the
those are brackish?
poecilids, that's why we still have poecilids here in the States, because they could move through the Gulf of Mexico. You wonder why we
Uh-huh.
don't have cichlids. It was because of the ice ages. The ice
Huh.
ages pushed down, and dude, the most northern of the cichlids is where?
Texas.
The Rio Grande.
That's right.
If you look at the Rio Grande, where do you go from the Rio Grande up to the more northern water systems? You can't. It's a wall. They hit a wall. The same thing with the Mexican tetra.
So it's a
They hit a
geographical
wall.
barrier.
It's a geographical barrier. They couldn't
Gotcha.
get across it.
See,
But
so
we used to have arowanas here in America. We used to have cichlids well up into our regions, well north, probably into the Carolinas.
no shit. What about Anabantoids? You think they ever made it? Do you think they were here
No. Anabantoids are entirely limited to Africa and
in Asia?
Asia. Most likely, the ones in Asia crossed over with mastocymbelids
How do
and
you
the
think many of those are
arowanas
brackish then?
on a very slow boat that was
Speaking of
called
the
India.
movie. Really? So you
Yeah,
think they
the
did
Indian
they did a continental
subcontinent
shift and
slowly
then
moved
jumped.
over, slammed into Asia, and that's how they moved.
So do you have brackish species of Anabantoids?
Okay, so
I know
a
you do.
few of them can
A few.
tolerate some level of brackish. There is a
Mhm.
betta that actually can go into low end brackish. It's they just got diagnosed. It's what's that? I'll tell you. Betta mahachiensis.
Machiensis.
And
That's a wild
likely
type.
what's that?
That's a wild type. That's the green one.
It is a wild type, but
Yeah.
it's part of the Splendens complex.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say it's a splendens complex.
it is.
Because
And
regular
also
splendens can handle a high salt, handle a little bracky too now.
remember that what we think of when we talk about our beta splendens in the hobby is most
Mm-hmm.
likely a weird hybrid of beta splendens, beta embellus, and
And
mahachiensis, with
machiensis.
possibly even more that we have slowly been breeding because no one was keeping track of this 100 years ago when they
Right.
started. So they were probably
So
grabbing whatever ones that were most tolerant. The reason that our bettas in the hobby are real tolerant of hard water is probably the addition of mahachiensis a
check
long while
this
ago.
out. Check this out. So in the DR, right? My family's there. They brought in splendens, and they so placat. They brought in some wild type splendens, and they released them for dengue control,
Oh yeah,
right? And it's a different culture down there, so I ain't trying to hear it. But the kids, they fight them, you know,
oh yeah,
and they breed them and stuff. They collect them. It's the same way they run betas in Thailand, same way
oh
in
yeah.
Southeast Asia. And they have this one. It's called the Beta Criollo. It's wild, and then they have this one. It's called the Pit Bull Beta. And what it resembles to me is if you took a king and a placat and the cross, and it's got a big head. It's a body fish, real serpentine, and it's the
Uh-huh.
coolest thing ever. And the water there's liquid rock.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? It is liquid rock, but they're running them canals. Them canals are tidal. They got brackish water. They're stagnant, and the
And
mosquitoes love it.
dude, and the reason that
Full
those
of
bettas
betas.
live in it is
Yeah,
probably from old introduction of mahachiensis genes
mahachiensis.
way back.
That's where that big king head comes from.
Yep.
It's crazy, bro. We're nerding out today, baby. This is rich. Dude, like whenever we link up, you got to come with me and visit mom and them. Dude, they're everywhere, bro. They're
Hey,
everywhere. I got
you
footage.
know
Y'all
I'm
want to
always
see it?
down.
It's on my YouTube channel. They're keeping them in solo cups, bro.
Oh yeah.
They're tougher than woodpecker lips, and it just makes me
Oh,
so mad when
dude, I'm
people be
telling
like,
you.
"The fish police." Oh, it's animal abuse. Look, bruh, you don't have to keep a betta in a 15-gallon tank from the store with all that stuff
No,
in it.
and honestly, I'm always surprised whenever I put them into a tank that's like a 300 gallon, and dude, they go, no, they'll die, and I go, no, they
No,
won't,
they
dude, they'll
won't.
be just fine.
Knock on wood. It's yeah. Shut up. It's me.
All right, so we go from trichogaster, which are dwarves, into trichopotus, which is our three-spot gouramis. We got banded gouramis, snakeskin gouramis. Yeah, a lot of different ones inside. Pearl gouramis, trichogaster. These are oftentimes food fish. Now, the three spots are almost bulletproof. I mean, that was what we were breeding back in the hobby, dude, back left and right. And Houston got famous because they actually mixed up the three black spots
Mm-hmm.
into a kind of swirl pattern, and that became the opaline
The
gourami. That was
opaline
bred
gourami
in the 50s
in the
in
50.
Houston.
Man, we gotta get Big Don up here, man, so he can talk about the heyday. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, dude, I
Man.
know.
But
Um,
yeah, bro, we got fish history coming for y'all. Just wait.
um, then you got bettas. I mean, bettas, there's currently 75 species of
75.
bettas. They're one of the most unique genuses of fish in the hobby at all. We actually have three different breeding strategies that bettas exhibit, and they are all found in the same genus.
So mouth brooding, a bubble nester. What's the other one? I don't know the third one.
Substrate spawner.
Substrate spawner. That's right. The cavity
Three.
spawners. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, buddy. That's dope. So what would it take for real to deglamorize it just a little bit and say Devoting a tank in your house to keep these species of fish alive ain't that much for us more advanced level hobbyists to be able to give those fry to children.
Yeah.
Because these fish are like the holy grail level fish, and it's money behind these fish, a lot of money. So
It,
getting your
it,
hands on them,
it can be,
I
but
don't tote that
honestly,
line.
I have always found, I mean, being the club president, I found that once I was really breeding, some cool like uh rare Mexican goodeids, some black prince goodeids, or some cool like wild type bettas. I
Hmm.
found that like if I could just sit down and take some time and show a younger aquarist, somebody in that 15-year range,
Hmm.
and to give them a 10-gallon, set it up and do it right,
Right.
dude, I would cement them understanding fish, like the parameters,
Hmm.
to really developing a lifelong hobbyist for the
Right.
rest of their days. They
And
would
it's
just
about
cherish
time.
that fish because it's something that you couldn't buy. You can't go to
Mhm.
the store and buy those fish.
You're right. And that's how we keep from losing them. People
Hmm.
don't realize that some of your more common fish right now don't exist in the wild no more.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You
Honestly,
know?
you look at the butterfly goodie, and it's
Hmm.
completely extinct from Mexico. The the axolotl is
Gone.
entirely extinct. White cloud
What
mountain fish
Yeah.
what about
extinct.
the white cloud?
Red tail sharks extinct.
Gone. But you can go to any Petco and see them in there
Oh yeah.
improperly being kept. And you remember that one time I called you, I was pissed off. I did that bio orb video. I got it out of the trash can. And this one crazy lady had went stupid on me because I had giant Danios in there with a freaking blue Aranda. And I was like, lady, chill out. They're cyprinids. They're cool. And she was like, you don't know what you're doing. And you should be drawn and quartered and executed at dawn
Oh yeah.
because you put those fish together. And I was like, lady, chill out. It's totally fine. They're cousins, man. They're
Oh yeah.
growing out. It's fine.
And honestly,
But
have you ever kept up with? All right, so going into our next one, we got Paris
Parasafini, I
Freemus,
can't say it either, man. Shit, but I know
which is
exactly
our
what you're talking
licorice
about.
gouramis.
Yeah,
Now
the
they're
licorice.
real touchy. I'll hands down, dude. Licorice gouramis are always touchy.
Jay
I
Watts,
treat them a
listen
lot
up.
like wild type bettas,
Okay.
But honestly, they're not impossible. You get if you're good at keeping like some of the Trichopsis, like your
Yeah.
pygmies and your croakers, the
I love those. Those are my
licorice
faves,
are
bro.
a breeze. Licorice will not be that hard.
They're like
The-
little
you-
chihuahuas, man. They're
oh
so
yeah,
curious and inquisitive. And like you know what I love about Anabantoids in general is they all exhibit this serpentine quality where their head, like you can watch their eyes rotate independently of each other, the way they look at like
oh
when
yeah,
they hunt, and
oh yeah.
all of them exhibit that quality. It's so cool to
And
watch. Like watch your fish. You know what I'm
I've
saying?
always I've always been fascinated because the Anabantoids, usually a lot of the gouramis, they've got those extended long pelvic fins.
Talk
And
about
they're
that.
exhibiting the same thing that the angelfish are doing. And it's for the same
Exactly.
reason. They usually are in real cloudy water
Hmm.
and they're feeding in real shallow water. So they don't always have a good visual range. So
Right.
that actually tells them if they've hit the bottom. They're in
See,
shallow water. They need to go back.
so talk about turbidity, right? Because I have a lot of tanks that unfortunately I can't share because people would say I'm neglecting. But I have a 55 set up in the garage. It is turbid, and
Hey,
I have yo-yo in there because
you
yo-yos
go out
come
to the
from
local
turbid water.
river, dive into it,
It's chocolate
and take your
milk.
goggles and look. You will see you don't have about 3 inches of visibility.
It's chocolate
That-
milk, bro.
Yeah, it's chocolate milk, dude. Fish are just fine in that.
and they're fine.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
clarity of the water
unfortunate.
is not indicative of its health.
Right. That yo-yo is loving life. You hear me? Like
Oh yeah.
I mean, like a hamster in sand. Like it's just loving life.
Oh, I
And
mean,
I can't
you
show
want to
some of
breed
these
fish,
things.
dude? You let some infusoria grow, some green water, and man, dude,
That's what
your
the
fryer
biggin is
growing.
going on right now is infusoriaed out. It looks amazing to me, but I'm not showing it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
You say, oh, you're neglecting, your water's not clear. You suck. Buy this, pour that in it. You know, like that's not the hobby though.
Oh yeah.
You
No.
know,
So next up is Macropotus, your family. Uh, your
fun
Macropotus, you've got
fact.
9 species. One of them is actually found in Taiwan, and it had become so extinct in Taiwan that it was found nowhere. But one of the local school systems decided that they wanted to highlight it as a kind of a showpiece for the
Yeah.
environment in
Okay.
Taiwan. They started giving them out as a free gift to young children, and they turned that fish around. Now it is found and is breeding in Taiwan again
I'll be
because
damned.
those children grew up keeping them and appreciating them and dedicating time and effort to cleaning up their waterways to make it have a return.
See, can you send me the link to that? I'll hit you up offline
All right.
because that stuff right there is inspirational, right? You can
Oh yeah.
use that as a benchmark to show people how. Because everybody's saying we should, we should, we should. Well, you have to state your purpose first. Then you make a plan, and then you get a solution,
Yeah.
an actionable
And
solution.
Macropods are one that you can get into almost species that really need no heat and almost need chillers. They want to be
Mm-hmm.
cold.
They like that.
They
So
like that cold. We got the Malputas, which are the
yeah,
ornate paradise fish that we were talking about
we were talking
earlier.
about earlier.
Then we've got the pseudo Supremus, which are the spike-tailed paradises. We got the Trichopsis, and really we're back into Chanids. All right, so I've got a question for you guys.
Okay.
I'm gonna bang it out. Let's see. All right. There's been argument back and forth in the ichthyological community for a long time, trying to figure out exactly where the Nandoidae end up. They exhibit characteristics of perciforms, of the different centrarchs. They've got some different characteristics. They do exhibit some anabantoid characteristics. Now, this would be the Nandids, so the Asiatic leaf fish,
Yeah.
the South American leaf fish,
Yeah.
the Guyana leaf fish, and the African leaf fish,
Right.
along with the chameleon fish, so the Baetis, Baetis and the scarlet Baetis.
So the tiger betas and the scarlet. Gotcha.
Where would you place those fish?
See, I've kept some of them, and then I've kept 2 of the 4, the African and the South American. So, from like watching them, because that's how I do it. It's
Okay.
observation. That's all it is. I've never cut one open. I've never counted like fin rays or scales or nothing like that. But I don't know if they have a labyrinth organ or not.
They don't have a direct
I've
labyrinth
seen them
organ.
porpoising though.
I have seen them
You know?
porpoise, but that could simply be just regulating their swim bladder.
The swim bladder, right?
Now,
So,
and
I don't
also
know.
we have an issue with their geographic
Because they
location.
in South America, which
They're in South America.
that's why I was asking you earlier. Do you think they were ever in America? Because you're talking about
Now,
Gondwana.
it could have been.
Well, we never know. We
It
need
could
noises
be
and
that
sound
these
effects.
are actually great grandparents of the Anabantoids
Huh.
that would eventually form into the Anabantoids. But this is
Or
a question that we
what
don't
about
have an
if it's
answer for yet.
parallel evolution? Kind of like how you got a green tree boa and a green tree python, they both fill the same niche. They
Yep.
both damn near the identical snake, but one of them is old world. Don't get me started on that. And one
Hey,
of them is new world, allegedly.
well,
I
hey,
think they got them
honestly, you
backwards,
know,
but
you
that's
look
my theory.
at knife fish, and you've got
We got an African
your
knife, though.
you've got your Asiatic knives, your featherbacks, your clown knives, your nocturids, and you've got gymnotids, and you realize that those two fish are not related at all.
Right. So,
They
peep
both
game, though,
evolved the same long anal fin, all independently of each other.
because of the environment.
Yeah. And
But
then you
see,
got the aba that formed
right.
it on its dorsal.
That's what I'm finna look, though. South America's right here. You got the ocean. Africa shaped like this. South America shaped like this. And you could see where they used to be linked up.
Yep. That's why
Okay.
you got kerosins in both and
Exactly.
cichlids.
Right. Jelly beans, toucans, neon tetras. Right. Look,
Yep.
check this out though. If Anabantoids started in Africa, what's to say that the South American four are not a relic population, i.e., the grandparents, like you said, of that population that then
Yep.
they so people like time is an MFer, right?
Yeah.
So you got those four that we have now, the modern day ones. Let's say they got stuck evolving right there. Then Africa split, and that family
Yep.
just said, "This environment is amazing," and they went, "Wow!" And then
Yeah.
they moved from Africa to
And
Asia,
honestly,
and now we talking. You feel me?
they exhibit similar characteristics to cenopomids,
Right.
which are lurker predators.
See, that's what I'm saying. They are mimic ambush predator.
Yep.
Come on now. So, like, sorry y'all, we nerding, bro. This is what we talk on the phone like this all the time, like for real. So, what do you think? I'ma say, I'ma say, I'ma say, they belong at the beginning. I think they grandparents. I
I,
think they were going. I think they could. They belong. Look, they belong right around where the Persiform ancestor. They are split off.
yep.
That's what it is. That is what it is. I need some paper so I can do a little taxonomy. We nerd. Holy
Hey,
shit.
I'm in agreement with you,
I'm gonna
but I
say
think that
that.
it's kind of. What do you think, George?
See here.
I really don't have. I'm not familiar with those fish at all,
Persiform.
and but it makes sense what you guys are talking about. I
Let me
mean,
see something.
it's where I noticed it the is where with the killifish that I'm keeping and the Florida sunfish. I look at those fish and they look almost identical, but they're in totally distinct regions of the world.
Oh yeah.
So these all had to originate from somewhere. It's just interesting
Oh yeah.
to try to figure out, do the detective work. Why are they very similar in characteristics, looks, and everything, and behaviors, but they're in different continents.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. It's fascinating to me. You know, I love
rabbit holes, baby.
I dude, ask George.
Rabbit
Dude,
holes,
I
man.
like my rabbit holes.
Hey, look, no, because George just said he was talking about the Alyssa McGilbert in the like how they're almost like they look damn near identical to the
To the killifish.
Aphanius, the Minto, right? So I went
Yep.
down this crazy ass rabbit hole with you and a couple cats years ago where I was like, bro, seeing dorsalis, the pseudomugel, seeing dorsalis. So we starting to get into the rainbow family, dude. And then you go from the Achilles, then you go from the desert pupfish, right? Like they're cousins. They're cousins. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
The
I can
hobby
see
is
the
there.
argument.
Like this is kids. This is where this is it. Like talk about these fish and get them because the problem is this: we're gonna lose them forever if y'all don't keep them in tanks.
Yeah.
That is despite all the excitement and the back and forth and like
Yeah, I mean,
the
you know, we see them
orgasmings,
and we
you
see
know.
some amazingly pretty fish, but dude, over in whatever ditch they're natively found in, it's a
They're
ditch
not there.
fish. Dude, You know,
It's a beta is a ditch fish. That's
yeah,
what it is. Like the wild types, the ones that are hottest in the market right now. If you guys knew where those fish come from, you'd understand why they cost what they do. And one time I was on the phone with Biz, man, and I was clowning. I was back home. I was visiting family, and I was like, man, you know what? You two be killing me, man. I was like, man, I catch malaria for the hobby. I was like, get some stamps on your passport and go to a rinky hospital
hey,
in a third world country and talk to
hey,
me.
I remember, I remember getting my ass beat by my parents, something fierce on a regular because I'd go out and ruin so many pairs of shoes going out and
Yeah,
collecting in ditches, dude, dragging
leeches,
home just all sorts
ticks,
of amphiumas and snapping turtles and sawshell
man.
turtles and oh, you name it.
The
Dude, dragging back
Amphiuma.
little killifish,
Yeah.
darters, catching darters, and dude coming back with them in a bucket, trying to keep them alive.
We were talking
I
about
murdered
pirate
my fair
perch the
share of
other
fish,
day.
but I learned.
So to finish answering your question, they already I think they should like seriously go between uh they should go somewhere in the clade of Sandalia, Stenopoma, Micro Stenopoma, and a novice. To be like quite honest, like they should probably get their own clade
Yeah,
like in the front of a novice and then call like a novice the split off. So like start Anabantoid Day, give them their clade, and then from
yep,
their clade drop down into the novice. Yeah,
into
their
the
clade.
larger
Yeah,
group, and then
yeah,
you got that
yeah.
split with the Channons.
Let it run how it does.
Yeah,
And
and
there's
honestly,
how you
hunt
do it.
down that Gollum. There's a Gollum snakehead.
Hmm.
It's worth a look. They are
That's the one, the
absolutely
cave
a
one they just
weird.
found.
Yeah, that was the one they
Huh.
just found. It is a
What they
really
classify it
weird
as?
cave snakehead, and it's our only troglodytic anabantoid that we know of.
What family
I don't
is
know
it
what
in?
it is about troglodytes, but
I like
I've
cave
got a
stuff too.
fascination.
Which family is it in?
It is in Enigma Channas. So
Huh.
Aenigmachanna, and its species name is literally Gollum, like Lord of the Rings.
That's crazy. See, dude, you when you're a scientist, you can do what you want. That's nuts, bro.
Hey, dude, he's been hiding in the mountains of India for a while.
Oh yeah.
Now, if we find him with a ring, we'll know.
Oh, he's gnarly looking, bro. You
Well,
know
that's
what he
why they
looks
called
like?
them. Just
He
with the
looks
name,
like
I figured it was going to
the
be.
dragon goby, man.
Yeah, they actually
Yeah,
will call him dragon snakeheads.
yeah, he looks just like a dragon goby, man. Here he is for you guys, man. Let me get
So
this
bring them
right
up on
for
the
you.
computer.
Oh yeah, duh. Duh. Man, I was over here trying to do the answer Roy's question. But yeah, that's what I think I would do to answer your question. To not BS. But
Oh
yeah, that's
yeah,
what I think I would do. I would give them their own clade and then let it drop down from there.
but honestly, as far as like you can really set up a cool um anabantoid tank. Really, like you know, research your anabantoid. Dude, Seriously Fish is an amazing website. I think everyone should use Seriously Fish. You want to do some research, you can start digging there. Then
Hmm.
you start figuring out where you need to dig further. But you want to look at biotopes, find out like all their like collection point data.
Fish
Start it
base
with
is cool.
reproducing their habitat. That's the first step in making your fish really happy. You know, sticking an orangutan in middle of Central Park
Ah,
West. Oh
that's
yeah, that's
hilarious.
him.
That's him, bro. How nice. Yeah, let's get it right. That's a dope looking fish, bro. Look at this thing. It looks just like a freaking dragon goby.
Yep.
So where do you think gobies go between Persiforms and Anaban today?
Gobies are their own huge group, but they're mostly all marine. Like, I think that we get so used to having such a limited option. The
Mm-hmm.
reason that gobies and Iliatroids are so diverse is because they could adapt and they're Uralhaline, so they
Yeah.
could spread out across the world and come up. That's why you
Now they
find them
got
in
some cool ones
Australia.
in the DR in the mountains, though, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They're
But a
real
lot of
they're
them figured
cool.
out that there's no predators upstream, so they can take full advantage of all the insects. That's what brought. All right, all right, all right. How about this? I'll leave something that we can end the show with. Why do we have a backbone? Why did vertebrates develop a backbone?
Like for real?
Yeah,
So like your spine, but then like
mhm,
your nervous system being able to like send stuff where it needs to go, signals and stuff like that. You know, like
right.
the support
Why did
system,
we develop bone
Okay.
made out of calcium?
minerals. Yeah,
Imagine
suspension.
that fish
That's it.
started evolving in salt water, and salt water is heavily inundated with calcium and
Yeah.
magnesium and all the things that you need to regulate your blood. But when they started going into fresh water, they didn't have it. So they started storing it and they started building it around their spinal cord. And that's what started our skeleton. It was so that fish could get into fresh water to breed and take advantage of food sources.
Oh,
Freshwater fishes are why we can think that we actually have the bones we do in our body.
I'll be down. Biology lesson, bruh. Bones, salt water, minerals, taking advantages for survival. At the end of the day, love will find a way. That's my saying.
Hey,
Stuff survives, man. Stuff survives. That's
indeed.
why there ain't no such thing as fish neglect. Y'all stop saying that stuff now. Well, let
Oh
me
no,
take
Well,
there
hey,
that
is.
back. There
There
is a
is.
such
There
thing as
is.
fish
Yeah,
neglect,
there
and
is.
it's all over YouTube, and it costs a lot of money. But we will not. We will
well, hey,
refrain
thank you
from
guys for
that.
having me on. It was
Man,
a
this has
pleasure.
been
Thank
dope.
you.
No, you
Thank
got to
you for
come
sharing
back,
that with
man. We're
us.
gonna make you a friend of the
You know,
show.
we really need to have Roy and Dr. Anthony on together and really, really go into some rabbit holes.
I don't think they're ready for that. I am. Doc, if you still in here, yes, that would be the epic
Because
show.
he's got the issue with the blue gouramis down there in Peru that they've, you know, I was
Invasive.
I was I was remembering where you said that they can survive in extreme conditions. One of
Hmm.
Oh,
the
yeah.
things that I found fascinating is that down there the sewage system is open sewage that runs down these little drains. Well, they're finding these gouramis living in these sewage drains,
Hmm.
and where nothing else would survive, but those fish are thriving
Oh,
there, and
yeah.
that's part of the studies that he's doing down there, which is fascinating to hear about,
Oh,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
Hey,
And
Roy, tell
honestly,
them about that. The majority of the invasive fish, even stateside, is because of gray water, it's because of sewage, it's because of the
it
temperature.
is. It's
And that's
a
how
lot
those
of
fish are
times,
living,
remember
y'all.
that,
It ain't
that
the
your gray
hobby.
water. So, so literally a lot of our invasive species would die out, but
Hmm.
the amount of gray water, so all the stuff that you're dumping in from like your hot baths and your washing machine, all this warm
Dishwasher.
water actually increases the temp enough that they can survive in Houston and in
Hmm.
these regions. Um, honestly, you know that there's an invasive colony of Sebrums that are found in Las Vegas because of the amount of water. So you've got literally Sebrums living in the desert because of the amount of water that's pumped into that place. Just
Like
right
before,
for them.
I would challenge all you guys watching and whoever, y'all go Google the local invasive species just in your state. You can look at the San Marcos River right now and just look at invasive plant species, invasive aquatic species. It is amazing that you could really, you gotta have to, check the game warden laws, but You could probably catch those fish and keep them in a tank. I mean, once you catch them, you can't throw them back. You have to euthanize them. I know
Usually
that's
you
the
have
law.
to gut and gill them, and they
Yeah,
don't
you
want
gotta
you to
kill
move them around
Yeah, they don't want
because
you to check the
of a
law.
fear of them spreading.
But there's invasive species everywhere. And that's
Oh, yeah.
just part of one of the things. I mean, can you attribute it to hobbyists?
I mean,
That's a toss up.
Well,
it,
to a degree, you have to, because how else are those fish getting into the wild if we're not releasing them? So,
well, most of our invasive species here in Texas, the vast majority are tilapia that were from
Released.
aquaculturing.
And yeah, food
And
fish.
whenever it floods, it runs over. And now we've got Mozambique tilapia, we've got blue tilapia, we've got Nile tilapia, we've got hybrids of all three. And I kid you not, you couldn't
I walk
find
right down
sunfish.
Tim's Bayou and see them like this big.
We did a collection trip down in Pearland, and 98% of the fish that we caught out of a group of 100 people, 98% were invasives.
Damn. All tilapia?
Yeah.
but those are because of the food industry. Is that why?
Yeah.
That's
Aquarium fish offhand, I know we got Placos.
Yeah, we got Placos. Every once in a while you'll find some Acaras.
There's Acaras, the blacks. There's
on
Texas
the weird
cichlids
few times you can find some guppies. Texas cichlids, as weird as it is, although not invasive in our state, they are in our
They're
region.
invasive here, but that's what I'm saying. They're here. They're invasive.
Yeah, and those were from the hobbyists.
Yeah, that's straight up. The Rio Grande
Mexican tetra you can find locally, and Mexican tetra came in from. They used to raise them as bait minnows, and people would give up fishing, dump in half their live bait minnows, and they just jumped the Rio Grande that they couldn't for almost since the last ice age.
Arguably, I wouldn't consider that one an invasive as much as a reintroduction. What would you say?
I mean, was it natively here? Is it out competing native species? Possibly. Did it exist prior to the ice ages? Probably. So it depends on how we look at things.
See, that's interesting stuff, but like the rabbit holes of the hobby, man.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Thank you, man, for coming up, man.
Thank you for sharing your Saturday with us. Thank you for everybody that's here with us, for taking time out of your day to be here with us. So, we really appreciate that.
Hey, no problem. Honestly, it was a pleasure. And hopefully, if you guys ever want to have me on again or whatever, Steve knows me, me, hit me up.
Yep. Matter of fact, in the comments, y'all leave topics, man. Hit us up on social media. Let us know what y'all would like to explore in depth on a serious note. And we'll see if we can address it. I'm pretty sure we can.
Oh yeah.
And I promise I'll try to keep Steve more on
classified
fish.
Subject. We just literally taxonomically classified fish, bro.
Hey,
how do you?
I know. I talk to Steve all the time. I know.
Yeah, we're good. We got a fish taxonomically classified, man. It's all good.
And when we start geeking out, man, and it's like,
over.
Yeah,
done.
I know. I just like giving him a hard time. That's all.
Either way, man, y'all have a blessed weekend, man. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out.
All right. See you guys later. Bye-bye.